Van Orden, who is also an original sponsor in this legislation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like all the people on the panel who work for the Class 1 railroads to stand up, please. Let the record reflect that no one stood up because they didn't bother to show up, even though they're invited to this hearing. BNSF, Union Pacific, and Canadian National were all invited to this hearing, and they are not here, and that is shameful. That is not okay. I represent a little town called DeSoto, Wisconsin. We had record flooding last April. I called the BNSF Railroad on the 21st of April. I said, I'm distinctly uncomfortable with the conditions of the tracks due to the scouring that's taking place, due to the flooding of the Mississippi River, and the BNSF Railroad essentially patted me on the head on the phone and said, don't worry, Mr. Congressman, we've been doing this for 100 years, we know what the hell we're doing. And 6 days later, on the 27th, there were several rail cars full of paint and batteries floating down the Mississippi River that almost hit a lock and dam, which would have caused potentially a catastrophic cascading effect that could wipe out hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars worth of wetland restoration. Needless to say, we don't have the best relationship at this point. Class 1 railroads have to understand one thing. They are not an entity unto their own. And they have gotten out of control. They are irresponsible. They are not receptive to any type of input that I've seen, and it's got to stop. I'm a retired Navy SEAL senior chief, and what that means is SEALs don't go anywhere without a swim buddy. And for them to tell you dudes that you're going to have one guy in a train, nope, that's a non-starter. So that is just foolish for them to argue that they're going to have one person on these trains. And I don't have a beef with the union guys. I'm a Republican. You need two people on those trains. That's unacceptable, and it's silly. I want to thank Mr. Bose and Ms. Hamidi for being so responsive when that happened. You guys are Johnny on the spot or Janie on the spot, and I appreciate that greatly. So, ma'am, I'm going to ask you, has anyone been fired, reassigned, counseled, or demoted due to the massive and preventable errors that took place in East Palestine?
Not that I am aware of, but I might not be aware.
Okay. Mr. Bose, you're FRA.
I'm not aware of any.
Has anyone quit in shame? Anybody? Anybody? I don't think so. All right. Ma'am, you have repeatedly stated that your agency has repeatedly given very specific safety recommendations to the railroads and that they are blowing you off. Is that correct?
We currently have 17 open rail safety recommendations to Norfolk Southern alone. We have 8 to all Class 1 railroads, and several of them have been open for many years. Overall, we have 215 open rail safety recommendations, many of which have been ignored.
Okay, so the railroads, by ignoring your safety recommendations, are putting these men's colleagues at risk, along with the vast majority of my constituents. So my grandkids, 4 of them, live about 3 blocks away from the railroad tracks in Prairie du Chien. And I want to be super clear, I love the railroads. And if you don't love the railroads, you don't live in Prairie, because we have trains going through all the time. And the only difference between East Palestine and what took place in DeSoto, which is right up the tracks, is they weren't hauling POL at the time. And so that would have been my grandkids' house, essentially. So we have to come to a place where these railroads understand that they must be responsive to your agencies. And do you have any type of recourse when they blow you off?
We do not. FRA has enforcement authority, however.
And what does that mean, sir?
Congressman, that means that when we find violations or non-compliance with our regulations, we issue fines, and we settle those fines. They have an ability to object, and we reach a settlement.
Would you, sir, do me a favor when this is over? Will you get me a list of those fines that you've levied?
Yes, sir. When we complete the process, we absolutely will.
Thank you. I would love to see that.
The settlement, the fines, though, that you issue are settled. They can be settled for pennies on the dollar.
Right. So that's kind of what I'm getting at. I want to see the actual numbers that you submitted and what they actually paid, because we're not doing this anymore. The railroads need to be put in check. and that's what we're here to do. And I want to thank Chairman Nels for his leadership on this bill. Very happy to be an original co-sponsor and also the original for HR 4085, the Rail Inspector Safety Act, which came from a direct recommendation from you, ma'am. So keep up the good work. I appreciate it. I yield back.
But if I could say one thing to the Congressman.
It will be up to the chairman, sir. My time has expired.
Go ahead, sir. Answer his question if you want.
No, I just wanted to say thank you for bringing up the issue repeatedly now on the need for more FRA inspectors out in the field. We need more cops on the beat, and we need them to be more efficient. One of the things I mentioned in my testimony is the laborious nature of writing a violation for one single violation. If you look through the FRA's MP&E study, you'll see, for whatever was 1,400 defects found, 47 violations. Every single one of those defects is technically a violation. It just takes the inspector out of the field and into an office to write a mountain of paperwork and takes them away from where they're needed, out in the field. Why don't we have something that's like, for a police officer, writing a ticket, writing a parking ticket, writing a speeding ticket, to make the entire thing much more efficient and also give some teeth to the cops that need to be out there.
Right on.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.